many parents send their youngsters to a private school, not because of the intellectual excellence, but because they know that their youngsters are going to be dealing in a business world or a professional world and will need contacts in that world. They will have to grow up with the people, the shakers and movers of our society.
We're getting a good education in our private school. Why can't the city produce the same kind of quality education for the same amount of money that they say they're spending on educating each children? I mean, money's not the only problem.
Every time there's a strike, you're going to find more and more people taking their kids out.
We don't have a commitment to education. Mm-hmm. That's the basic problem. We do not have a commitment.
I got them beefsteak Charlies on side 12 medium, shot tie Wallies on straight from England. I got tats on mines. Y'all just leaning, fucking star pictures for real. Y'all just dreaming, wake up, motherfucker, shape up, feel the pain with up. Stand the fuck up, pull your cup out for change now. Who wanna step through my backyard? When this go double plat, I'ma flash hard like old boy Tony the Darno. With so much paper, call me in wrong, so my piece flow, check my P-code. Tree hoes, throw it back, nigga, I keep those. Just in case I wanna see a freak show. Born of a barely, night of the deep throats. Dirty mouth niggas, may I eat soap? Shoot one of y'all, touch my cheese toes. Hey, hey, what you say? This is real hip-hop on the line today. It's worth more than any label on what they pay. I'm here to save hip-hop cause it's dying away. Come on, hey, hey, what you say? This is real hip-hop on the line today. It's worth more than any label on what they pay. I'm here to save hip-hop cause it's dying away. Come on, fiber optic, microscopic, bulletproof, yo, I'm glad you copped it. Sony stopped it, Def Jam gon' do the opposite. Hope gon' keep on top of it. I'm real positive, my prerogative, Socrates, Mockeries, Betty Crocker kids. Go broke, I'ma fucking rob your crib. And I'ma kill him if I get on top of him. With crazy hammers, nothing but broke man taste with bandanas. Right in front of cameras, parents planning, fill the cannon, tanning. Yo, get niggas like Dannon. Stretch, yes, I go to war with a banged up vest. Teflon that was made by guests. Even my girl got a bulletproof dress. J-Lo shit, the runway lay. Prego, Chris Diego, Killer Wavo, Plato fifth. There ain't no nigga like those Plato chips. You're dying from the gunshots, Fado lick. For yayo bricks, the 8 off spits get paid off it. The Wally done 8 off it. Throwing stones at a glass house, friend get mashed out. My gun turn heads like bitches with their ass out. Hey, hey, what you say? This is real hip hop on the line today. It's worth more than any label on what they pay. I'm here to save hip hop cause it's dying away. Come on, hey, hey, what you say? This is real hip hop on the line today. It's worth more than any label on what they pay. I'm here to save hip hop cause it's dying away.
This is a show about attitudes toward public schools. Although it deals with the inner city, there's no violence, no one gets ripped off, there are no ugly confrontations. To the contrary, we've gone to a good school by general standards to show that even in a central city neighborhood where such a school exists, many parents still want to buy their children a private education. In the long run, it seems to us, that's bad for the country. Yet increasingly in the cities, we're locking ourselves into a track of excellence for the few who can afford it and mediocrity for almost everyone else. This show deals with the obvious. What's frightening is that we've begun to accept the obvious as inevitable.
This is Philadelphia. The blueprint of America was drawn here, and with it flourished the belief in free and universal education. Newly arriving immigrants sent their sons and daughters to public schools to be Americanized, and at one time, Central High School here was an outstanding example of public education. But like our other great cities, Philadelphia has been suburbanized, its wealthier families drawn outward, taking with them thousands of the best qualified teachers. The remaining schools have suffered. Here, however, within shouting distance of Independence Hall, is an exception. This inner-city neighborhood is known as Society Hill. A few years ago, it was a rundown, red-light district dotted with relics of the Republic's infant days. But now its cobblestone streets are taking on a new look, modern apartment buildings rising alongside fine old townhouses being renovated by prosperous citizens willing to gamble on a new urban life. Society Hill gets its name not from its new affluence, but from the historical society of traders who once lived, traded, and made merry with the merchant marines who docked at the nearby wharves. Society Hill is served by the General George A. McCall Elementary School, one of the few remaining good schools in central Philadelphia. 30% of its 700 students are black, many of them from a nearby poorer section of town. 10% are Spanish-speaking, another 10% are from an international community whose children come to learn English, and the remaining 40% are white. McCall is a school of rich cultural diversity, and that's one reason it's so popular. There's a waiting list of parents from all over the city who want to send their children there.
Who else?
Listen to Dr. Oscar Hankinson, the principal.
Here in Philadelphia, you either have an all-black school or an all-white school, based upon certainly neighborhood conditions and neighborhood housing. McCall is different. Youngsters come from all over the city, and that builds our black population because Society Hill, of course, is virtually an all-white enclave. We have many different ethnic groups living, not only living in the area, but also coming to the area. It changes the way you look at a school. Private schools, I think, McCall educationally is as effective, I think, as many private schools. Our classes are not certainly as small as they are, but I think our teachers do quite an effective job. And the parents who send their youngsters here want a lot for their children, and that's the main thing. But I think McCall does something else that private schools cannot do. It allows youngsters to see other kinds of youngsters in an everyday environment, living, working, fighting. You know, it's not a hothouse kind of experience for a youngster. And I think for America that does more for the future.
Recently I have read about a proposal that parents be given a voucher as they pay their taxes.
This is Imogene Hobbs, who teaches the second grade at McCall.
To go to the school of their choice, be it private or public. And that way a school will survive or fall on the basis of the approach from the parents. I think there are going to be sweeping changes, perhaps not in my time, but public schools as we know them now, I just think that they have to change.
If all of the things that you say are true about McCall's, why do you think so many parents send their children to private schools from the neighborhood around here?
Well, there are many reasons, I suppose. There are some families that are just private school people. And then, well, let's face it, no matter how hard we work, you can do a better job with a smaller class. And many of the parents have told me that the classes are overcrowded and they don't want their youngsters in overcrowded classes.
We talked to some parents who send their children to McCall.
We have a situation in this community where kids are going to approximately 26 different schools and being bussed out of the area. I think that this condition is unique, and one of the reasons we have noticed this is because just 2 blocks from McCall School, on the south we have South Street, Bainbridge Street. On the Society Hill side we have a sophisticated, supposedly neighborhood. Society Hill on one side, Poverty Hill on the other side. And I think that this is a cop-out. McCall is a good quality school. Kids are receiving a quality education, and there is simply no need of busing to achieve anything as far as McCall is concerned. Doris at McCall is getting a well-rounded education. It's not a matter that she cannot receive a quality education at a private school. It's just that we want Doris to be exposed to every level of life. We want her to be exposed to children from varied backgrounds, not growing up from a certain vantage point of view. We want her to have a well-rounded education as well as a well-rounded social stratum we would like for her to obtain also. And this is the reason why we are in favor of her going to McCall School over going to a private school. I don't feel that the exposure at a private school would be exactly the same as in public school. In private school, you have more of a select student body than you would at a public school.
Doris has enjoyed her 3 years so far in McCall School. And I'm sending her there because I like the school and what it has to offer her. I am a member of the PTA, and I visit the meetings quite frequent. Also, she's in the Brownies. They formed a troop this year for the little kids, Brownies, and she's in that. And we mothers, we participate, and you get to know the mothers. And someone realize it's like a big family at McCall's. Everyone's concerned about everybody else's child, and I like it.
It's very hard. We help him, and then we wonder if we should. If we help him too much, is he going to learn it?
I think you have to help him a little.
Are there any other ways we can get her interested without, like, badgering her, because she's going to have to, get down to it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have a newspaper article on the desk. The Inquirer on Sunday had a very good article showing how you can use, for example, experiences with the supermarket.
The Davies live in this townhouse in Society Hill and send their children to McCall. They have special reasons for doing so.
I think the main reason we're sending them to McCall is because we believe in public education, and we would like them to have a real city life, with the kind of people, all the kinds of people that live in the city and all the things that happen in the city, and be able to walk to school, and it's a real life situation in the city. They are exposed to kids from Chinatown, and they're exposed to kids from this neighborhood. And some children at McCall come from other neighborhoods in the city because they want to come to McCall School. And then we have 200 children who've recently immigrated to this country who come to McCall to learn to speak English.
What are the educational benefits of McCall's?
Well, I think the different cultures within the classroom are a big educational benefit. We're noticing that the children all bring things from their particular homes, and they're all from such different backgrounds that the children are getting exposure that we're learning from too, and it's just fantastic.
They just recently instituted a buddy system there where a child will have a friend or a buddy of another culture or another ethnic background, and this exposure is good.
They're very good readers, and they handle math well. And so, the social studies and all, it's a part of their real life. They really don't have to be lectured about it in class, although they do have a viable social studies program. Social studies is happening to them every day.
What about the concern of overcrowding?
Well, I think this is a sign of the times in any public school system, especially in a center city system.
I went to parochial school and had 70 in my classroom, so of course I can't get too upset about the overcrowding, although I don't think that's a good situation. A lot of kids were left behind. Rhodey went to public school and then into private school, and I went into private school and high school. I know that I had real good teachers there, and I had some terrible ones. You're going to run into that anywhere.
Jewel Carter runs a talk show for a local radio station. She lives in West Philadelphia and buses her two sons across town to McCall. Like the other McCall parents, she's a strong advocate of public schools.
People who can afford to put their children in private school will usually do that as opposed to putting them in public schools. Educators or professionals or whatever, the minute they get that job that's going to pay them X number of dollars, they start looking around for a private school. I send them to McCall School because I feel that McCall, aside from being one of the better schools in Philadelphia scholastically, it is the only school in Philadelphia that deals with children of all backgrounds. McCall has children in the school that are the poorest of poor and the richest of riches. I feel that by sending them to that kind of environment, they will be more attuned to life as it actually is. There is no particular group in life. We deal with all kinds of people, and I feel that by going to McCall School, they will be able to really get a true picture of what life is all about.
Another parent told us that McCall is a classroom in democracy, the kind of place all America ought to be if we're going to learn to live together. It's also a pretty good place, as inner city schools go, at stretching young minds. We talked with its teachers, sat in its classrooms, interviewed its administrators, and agree with those parents who told us their children get stimulating teaching as well as a democratic social experience. But, and this is the reason we selected McCall in the first place, this is the point of our show, within one 2-block area nearby, parents are sending their children to a total of 26 different private schools. 26. McCall is there, within walking distance, but many of the new middle class moving into Society Hill, black and white, still want to put their children into private schools. We talked with a number of them. Their reasons reflect a pattern of flight away from public education that is taking place in central cities throughout the country. What you're about to hear was said in a 2-block area of downtown Philadelphia, within earshot of this good elementary school. It could have been in any city from Boston to New Orleans to Los Angeles.
George and Sandra Peoples live near McCall, but send their children to private schools.
Public schools are overcrowded, and the teachers are put in situations where they're overburdened. They get frustrated, the children get frustrated with them, and you just have a situation that is just dealing with everyone's frustrations, and yet the reason for public education is not really being seen.
We sort of concluded that there just wasn't a choice there. First of all, we wanted to be assured that they would obtain the basics and that they would be in a small enough classroom setting that the teacher could give them some individualized attention.
We just feel that we're fortunate that we've been able to provide an experience for our children, and we wish that the other people in the country could have the same kind of experience for their children.
There are many other parents in this 2-block area in Society Hill who send their children to private schools. Several of them gathered in a neighbor's home, and we talked about the reasons why.
Everything.
Contrary to what I've said.
But you're deserting the public schools to do that.
Yeah, right.
No, but here's...
Unless you've got a really top-notch public school. Now, you call McCall's a really top-notch public school. Well, God help the public school system if that's a really top-notch
It's
public
better
school.
than most in the city.
Public schools say, well, this public school has this problem. Well, there is no way of characterizing the problems at a school like McCall. When you have something as complex as McCall is today, with everything focused upon it, every urban pressure there is comes out of that McCall school. It's almost impossible for a child not either to be experimented upon or be an experimenter.
The basic skills I think they would have gotten at McCall School. I think at almost any school that I could have picked, for at least as far as I'm concerned, the basic skills I wasn't concerned with. I wanted something more for my children than just basic skills, learning to read and write. Not just learn how to be readers, but to really love it and an enjoyment in learning. And I think this is to me was very, very important, that they would be physically and mentally active. I feel that the public schools are a very unstable kind of a thing where you're really not sure what tomorrow will bring. They're getting more and more kids into school. You could go there next year and find 45 kids back in a room again. There's no stability there.
First of all, in a class of 45, it's impossible for her to have too much communication with the teacher unless she's an exceptional student. Because everybody else is going along with you stand up at the board and you mark John Road down the road. And 30 students might pick it up. What happens to the other 15 or however ever are left? They don't grasp. So now when you take time to go back to pick up what the 15 have not picked up, you've lost the 30. And the 30 is the majority of the class.
See, I happen to think the underlying concept is nobody really trusts the bureaucracy or the people who run the schools. The policies have been unstable. The direction has not been in the direction of the pursuit of excellence as a goal. The problems of the Philadelphia system and priority of things are overwhelmingly in the direction of the underachieving child. And gosh, that happens to be the social imperative. I don't think any one of us questions that for a minute.
But the president said in a speech last year that he was going to, while he was against busing, he was doing everything he could for...
There is no commitment, there is no commitment in this country to education nor to that of your, older citizens. If we had a commitment there, the whole educational system would be different.
You have to start looking around. You're going to live in a city. They cannot be sent to public schools for fear of their safety. I would be in constant worry each and every night.
McCall has been free of violence within the school, but like all major cities, Philadelphia is facing increased random violence on the streets to a degree that makes parents apprehensive even of sending their children to a good school like McCall.
Go near the AMP, and that's right around the block from the McCall school. They're petrified in that area, that particular. They won't go near there.
I stuck my head out the window one day, and there was one of Nina's sons, a couple of other kids in a circle, and they were rather inside of a circle, and the circle was composed of 4 or 5 kids circling around them like sharks, like predatory animals, terrifying them, and I went running downstairs and chased them out.
Are you retreating from a public responsibility by putting your child in a private school?
No, I do not feel that I am retreating. I feel that I am more or less gathering up strategy. The strategy is that if my child can strengthen her survival skills for the future generation, this means that she can take from the system at this point and give it back to those who are not able to get into the private schools. This is my projection.
You think she's better able to learn survival in a private school?
That's right.
No, that's wrong.
Oh, no, not for her. It isn't
Depends on
wrong.
the survival.
It isn't wrong for her.
Okay, maybe it's not wrong for her.
I'm speaking of her survival skills. Her survival skills as a black child. When you come to job situations, employment, it is to the point where they've already contained the child, where she cannot move out into the area of being able to get into the employment situation. It contains her. Therefore, I feel very comfortable with having put her in a private school.
What is the long-term effect if parents who can afford to send their children to private schools do so and leave the public schools essentially to the underachievers?
Yeah, you destroy the public schools. That's what you do. I mean,
isn't that happening?
Yes, it's exactly happening. I think it's happening at Greentown School. I think where people are beginning to pull their white little kids out of school, and the school is becoming all black, and it doesn't help the white and it doesn't help the black.
Then what kind of society are your well-trained, well-educated, well-cared-for children going to inherit if the public school system is destroyed?
Well, maybe what it has to be is destroyed.
You're shifting
in order to
a buck over to us. There's another side of the coin, and that's the public's responsibility in our direction. In other words, they want us to give our most precious assets. You're saying give our most precious assets, our children, to the school system. What we're saying is, for one reason or another, it does not meet our needs or purposes in its form. And until the public's prepared to make the investiture of resources and the investiture of thinking necessary to create an atmosphere, you're going to have people running out of cities like Philadelphia as fast as they can move.
You're the public. Are you prepared to make that investment?
Well, we do. We're probably the most highly taxed people in the city of Philadelphia.
We tried the public school for our kid, and it didn't work. But when you talk about an investment, I think everybody in this room would jump at the opportunity to pay more, to have the schools decent, the public schools decent, because we're paying more anyway because they aren't decent. And I jump at the opportunity if the classes were the size of what they are in private school, if they had the teachers and the ways that they're taught in private school. It's not a matter of equipment. It's a matter of, the whole atmosphere in a school. And you don't have this atmosphere in the public schools today. You're asking a member of this group to answer a question for the child. Now, I can do anything I want as an individual for myself, but I think I've got to provide the best for my child. Not for the great social system of the inner cities and whatever you might call it. But I want my child to get the best that I think he can get, not that I want my child to do the thing that might be the thing that is best for the community.
Parents who stay with public schools, either by choice because they believe in public education or because they're poor and have no choice, find themselves increasingly the victims of still another source of instability in urban public education, the teacher strike. Last year, there were 135 teacher strikes in this country, costing more than 500,000 idle school days. There have been 97 such work stoppages in the last 6 months alone. You heard people in this show express concern over the issue because while we were in Philadelphia, teachers were getting ready to strike for the second time in this school year. They've been out now for a month. In recent weeks, strikes have also closed schools in St. Louis and Chicago. Inner-city parents can express their frustration over the instability created by strikes, but that's about all they can do.
Thank you. We're talking and we've called it the school crisis, and indeed it is a school crisis. However, I think each one of us realizes that the situations that face us not only affect you as parents, me as a parent, and our children, but it affects our city, it affects our state. So that we're not just asking for ourselves, we're asking for all peoples, and we need all peoples to help us. If it takes this kind of experience, this kind of feeling, this rally to show the total community how involved we are, how concerned we are for what will benefit them, then we'll do it and we'll do it again.
I'm sure that no city, no community the size of Philadelphia can afford to see its public school system shut down. I think the price is very, very high for the community and for our children most of all. Again, you're to be commended. This is only a start. Let's keep it up. Thank you very much for coming today.
Money is the root of most strikes. Many of our big cities with large numbers of disadvantaged children are borrowing from banks just to meet day-to-day costs. Schools in Detroit, for example, will close this spring unless there's more money for a pay increase. And Mayor Rizzo has warned the Philadelphia schools that they face a strict austerity program when the present strike is settled. This won't mean a thing for kids in private schools or affluent suburban schools. For kids in the inner cities, it can mean the future. President Nixon acknowledged this sad state of affairs last March.
We all know that within the central cities of our nation, there are schools so inferior that it is hypocritical even to suggest that the poor children who go there are getting a decent education, let alone an education comparable to that of children who go to schools in the suburbs. It is time for us to make a national commitment to see that the schools in the central cities are upgraded so that the children who go there will have just as good a chance to get quality education as do the children who go to school in the suburbs. What I am proposing is that at the same time we stop more busing, we move forward to guarantee that the children currently attending the poorest schools in our cities and in rural areas be provided with education equal to that of good schools in their communities.
Following that speech, Mr. Nixon did send legislation to Congress calling for relief for Central City schools. But he tied it to his major priority of putting an end to busing, and the bill died in the Senate. Mr. Nixon has 4 times vetoed bills containing more money for education, and his new budget seeks only a small increase for schools compared to what he wants for the Pentagon. Last year, the federal government spent $78 billion on military security and some $8 billion on public school education. The failures of our inner-city schools won't be solved by money alone. Too many of their problems flow from the general breakdown of society around them, especially from broken families and dying neighborhoods. But the federal government spent on education last year roughly what the business world spent on advertising. That would say something about priorities and also indicate that in the continuing competition between private consumption and public needs, the schools in our central cities, even good schools like McCall, will be struggling just to stay open.
We don't have a commitment to education. That's the basic problem. We do not have a commitment.
I'm Bill Moyers. Good night.